The recording has started. Okay, so um, I'm gonna briefly go over review everything that we've done so far up to this point, so that we can mesh it all together, right? So the point of being in this school is to accomplish the goal of achieving freedom, right? Freedom from the system, right? Um, and living comfortably once you do that, right? Also, we're here to learn the truth. We want to know what's going on, right? And the private sector is where you're safe at, right? So we discussed how everything is set up like a game. And I'll tell you, because we're going to get into the human potential, I'll tell you guys a little story about how I realized it was a game. Okay. I started studying spiritual matters and searching for the truth when I was about 15, right? And so, that led me to looking for spiritual things. And when I was 15, there was no, I'm not going to say there was no internet, but it wasn't popular, right? so, so, I would go to spiritual shops, you know. I would go to spiritual shops, spiritual bookstores and stuff. And I used to play because I was 15 and I was a kid, average kid, and so I played video games. And my favorite type of video game was role playing games, right? Because like Zelda, Final Fantasy, right? And in these games, now this is gonna be I'm gonna explain this to you, right? Because the similarity is strange. In this game, and every game is set up uh with the concept of good versus evil, right? And so in these role playing games, they're all usually the same. You start out in your home village, right? And you know you're a regular kid or a regular guy, regular girl, and something's wrong with the world, right? Something's going on, something's wrong. Something's always wrong in these games, right? And the thing is that you receive this information that something is wrong, right? And then the next thing is you have to leave your house and go out into the village, right? And that individual usually gives you some information. And what it is that in the village you have the item shop, you have the weapon shop, you have the bookstore, you have the inn, usually, right? And so in the item shop, you have your crystals and your books and you have all your stuff. And so I realized that when I was outside looking for these things, I'm like, wait a minute, there's a real spiritual shop. There's a real herb shop. There's a real stone where I could get some crystals and metals and right. And so I'm like, wow, this is a lot like the game, right? This stuff is real, right? So so as I'm growing up and experiencing life, I'm noticing a lot of other things in life are like the game too. Wait a minute, there's a weapons shop. There's a place where, oh, so if the lady goes, this little Asian lady goes behind the counter and shows me what's behind the counter, that's where the weapons are. So the toys and the cheap clothes and all that stuff, that's out in the open. But if you ask her what's in the back, or whether you look behind the counter, the weapons are there. This is when I was a kid, right? But I'm noticing that this stuff is real, right? There's real books, magic in it. There's real, right? So I'm studying these things because I'm wondering why, right? I'm wondering why, the stuff in movies. I'm wondering why the stuff in these games. I'm wondering why I'm going to these places and these things are actually real, right? So, that piques my curiosity and that leads me to keep searching for the truth, right? And then I learned somewhere around the age of 20, right? I learned that when you turn 18, you get points. I'm not talking about a credit score. Team, you get points for that, right? Uh, whether you live with your parents or not when you're 18, it's points for that. Whether you have a job or not, whether you're in school, right? There's points for all these things. I'm not going to get into this because it's a whole nother class, but this has something to do with your birth certificate, your bond, your value, right? When you turn 18, the points begin. The game starts, right? It's interesting because most people don't know this, okay? Right? Another thing that I noticed, and I'm saying these things because I want to see what's going to happen is while you're learning throughout these classes, things are going to start meshing together in your head, and you're going to realize that there's so much more and that everything is connected, right? So, you know, in realizing all these things, I noticed that there's no difference really between what they tell us is fiction and what's actually going on. This leads you down a path. And so tonight we're going to talk about the human potential because we talked about the game, we talked about choosing sides, right? Good, evil. So everybody's here because you chose the side of good. I'm hoping, right? I'm thinking that that's why everybody's here, right? And so then we went into character, right? And who you want to be, what your specialties are, what you're good at, right? Your purpose, what you were sent here for, which right? So we went into that. So now we're going to talk about the human potential, okay? Because in this process, right, of achieving freedom, we're up against forces that we discussed in the last class that are way beyond mean and evil, greedy people. Okay? So, the first thing we're going to get into is purpose. Before we talk about the human potential, we're going to talk about purpose. Why are we here? Okay? What I want you to think about, what I want you to write down now, right? Just write down the word passion. Okay? Now, we put this picture here that says follow your passion and this road because it's a path. What is it that motivates you to do this? Is it your children? Is it that you want to live comfortably? Is it that you're tired of struggling? Is it that you want to help others? Whatever your passion is, that's what's driving you to these classes. That's what's driving you through all of this to achieve this freedom. Okay? And so the purpose is very important. And your passion and your purpose go together. Okay? So I want you to read, because what I do is I want you to research these things. I give you words to research because when you're looking these words up, it becomes a part of you. See, I'm not here to glorify myself. I'm not here to do this because I like listening to myself talk. I'm here to help you. And I know that having you look these words up and research them for yourselves, that gives your spirit a chance to find the truth on its own. You see? Some people might go to different books, looking up passion, looking up the words passion and purpose. Everybody's spirit's going to lead them to a different place. What's right for you. So I have to leave that open for you. So purpose and passion, I'd like everybody to write down because I want you to look that up and consider these things. Now, fear. Overcoming fear. All right, before we can overcome, the the system, the government, before we can overcome evil, before we can overcome the obstacles that we're facing, the struggles that we're dealing with, the first thing you have to overcome is fear. Okay? Now, we're going to talk about this for a minute, because once we get past this point, it's going to feel like life is opening up for you. So let's get the fear out of the way first. Now, the first thing we're going to get out of the way is the fact that God is real. Okay? God is very real. I know we talked about it before. I'm going to briefly cover that now. Okay? First of all, man is not the only intelligent life in the universe. Okay. Now, Earth is a relatively new planet. Earth is a baby compared to most of the other planets in the universe. Okay. That would mean that man is relatively new. There are other intelligent beings in the universe that are way older than mankind. Okay. Now, had to clear my throat for this. Somebody had to be first. Out of all the intelligent beings in the universe throughout all of eternity, somebody had to be first. That is who God is. A lot of different names, a lot of different languages, a lot of different places, but the first intelligent being that ever existed, that's who God is. Okay? So, God is very real. Okay? That is the fear we're going to cover first. All right? So most of the things that and what's interesting about God being real is that it's in you. Look, everything came from that first intelligent being that ever existed. So part of that is in you already. Okay? So we have to get past that first, because a lot of people are in denial. And I'm not saying that you guys are in denial, because if you're here, you're advanced. But I want to cover this, right? A lot of people are in denial of the reality that God exists and is real, because it's scary, right? Because the whole thing is, wait a minute, if God is real, then what? I'm in trouble, right? So the concept of God being real scares people, right? And it naturally makes your mind go into denial. All right? And so I want to cover that and get past that first. Now, the next thing I want to cover in regards to God being real and overcoming, and not overcoming that fear, because there's nothing, okay? There's no way that you can overcome that fear. All right? Now, you're not afraid like your life is in danger, but you're afraid like your father, like you would be afraid of your father, right? So that fear never goes anywhere. You're not going to overcome that. Okay? But I want to cover the fear of God's existence, okay? So that we can get past that. That's the first thing we have to cover when we consider fear at all, right? Okay. The next thing is that light is made of matter, okay? So, a being that was made of pure light is physical, because matter is physical, okay? So, I just want to cover that also, right? Because we're talking about reality. We're here to learn the truth and what's really going on. So, I want to give you facts so that we don't go through these classes, with theories, right? I don't want to do that, right? I would like to explain these things to you using common sense and logic, okay? Right? These things are logical and common sense, right? So now, the next thing we have to overcome, the next fear that we're going to have to cover is the fear of making it. the fear of asking, the fear of winning. You're here to win, right? Because you wanna. I don't want to say you want to beat the system, right? Because it's not about beating the system, but you want to win in life. You don't want to lose, right? And so there's a fear of winning. We're going to talk about the fear of winning before we talk about the fear of loss, right? What happens is people get comfortable where they're at in life, right? And subconsciously, because, consciously, you want to succeed, you want things, you want your life to be better. But subconsciously, people sabotage themselves because they're afraid of change, they're afraid of success. Right? There's a fear of making it. There's a fear of being a winner subconsciously. So you do things, you 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 allow distractions to keep you from accomplishing your goals because of the fear of success. Now, what I want you to write down next is the fear of success. I want you to research that because it's I don't want to call it a psychological defect, right? Right. But it's like an underlying barrier that people need to get past is the fear of success. So study that. And what you're gonna, and it's happened to me too. When I, this is where when people first hear about this concept, it makes you think like, wait a minute, I might have been doing that to myself, right? Wait a minute, right? So what happens is when you learn about it, that helps you overcome that fear. Okay? Because you can't, and the reason why we're going over all of these things is because if you want to accomplish the goal that you set for yourself, then you're going to have to overcome these fears first, or you're not going to make it. Fine, it's called this, right? But it's kind of like boot camp too, right? Because I have to make sure you guys are spiritually tough enough, right, to make it all the way to graduation. Okay, right? I need you to make it. So you have to overcome the fear of winning. It's a real psychological problem that people have that they don't know about. So study the fear of winning, the fear of success. Maybe it's under the fear of success, right? So look that up. And that's another fear that we have to overcome. Okay? Now, the fear of loss, right? And I'm going to get to Yoda in a minute, right? I know you guys are looking at the picture ready, but we're going to get into that in a minute. The fear of loss. What I want to say first about the fear of loss is that, our lives are cluttered with the things that we've accumulated physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Okay? And if we don't make room for new blessings, then there won't be any. So the fear of loss gets in the way of new blessings. And a lot of times people look at loss the wrong way. A lot of times when we lose things and it's beyond our control, it's because God is moving things out of the way so that He can put new things, in your life. So He can give you new things, new opportunities. He might want you to move to a new place and you wouldn't leave, so something happened and you thought it was bad, but it was really good because God wanted you to move somewhere better, right? So we have to overcome the fear of loss because it gets in the way of blessings. It gets in the way of progress. And I'll tell you guys another story. Because, I have to give you the truth about the world, about Earth, about the universe, but I'm also going to be giving you the truth about myself, right? Because it's all about my experiences and my testimonial too, because a lot of this comes down to, well, have you done any of this? Have you did you do it? Do you practice what you preach, brother? That's how they be talking. That's how they talk to me, right? So I'm gonna give you, my experience with this. So, because I didn't feel I belonged there, right? right, right. I was bothered for a while, and what was strange was that I didn't know anybody there, but occasionally people would say to me, whatever it is that's messing with you, you gotta let it go, right? You gotta let it go. You gotta stop holding on to whatever it is that's messing with you. You gotta let it go, right? And I couldn't understand the concept of letting it go, right? I didn't get it. I didn't get the whole letting things go concept, because it was like, okay, so when I think about these things, they still piss me off, right? And I can't forget that they happen. So what is this concept that you speak of letting these things go, right? What do you mean let them go, right? I didn't understand, right? And it was a problem that I had, right? Because what happens is that concept is not easy to grasp, because it's beyond, I'm not going to say it's beyond conceivable, but it's very hard. It's very hard, and I'm smart, and I'll say that that's something hard to gain understanding on. But you actually can, right? You can let go, right? And so when I learned about this concept, it eliminated the fear of losing things, because I realized that I was keeping things that I didn't have to within myself. And when it's inconceivable how to do that, that's where giving things to God comes in at. You have to put things in God's hands. When you actually sincerely within yourself say, I put this in your hands, Father, right? You'll notice that your life will lighten up. It works. Look, we tried everything else. If you didn't try this, try it. It works. Okay? Right? So that's what helped me understand overcoming the fear of letting things go. I don't care if it was physical, if it was a item, material. I don't care if it was a friend, a family member, a partner, a business. Where I was living at, whatever it was, I learned to let things go. And so we have to overcome that fear too, because in trying to accomplish your goals and becoming free and living comfortably in the private, you're going to have to let go of a lot of listen, I don't want to scare anybody, but you're going to have to let go of a lot of things by the time you graduate from this school. You're gonna have to learn to I was gonna say get rid of, right? But you're gonna have to learn to let go of a lot of things. And so we have to overcome the fear of loss. It's very important. I told you guys that this class would be extra long, right? Because of how important the human potential is. Now, mind you, tonight's class is about the human potential, but you cannot reach your potential if you do not overcome fear. Okay? Now, I'm going to briefly discuss the other fears so that we can move on. Right? The other fears are the fears of what people think about you. Right? Now, that's a setup, okay? Because the system is set up that it programs people to think a certain way, right? So when it comes to the truth, when it comes to doing something divine, when it comes to choosing the side of good, the system programs society to frown upon that. So, for me, overcoming the fear of how everybody thinks about me was easy. You know, so please consider that. You know, when it comes down to, so really what you should do within yourself, within your spirit, within your heart, is compare how your creator feels about you and how God thinks about what you're doing, what he thinks about how you operate and what you're doing in life, right? And how other people think about, you know, what you're doing. Compare the two. Which one do you care about the most? You know? Because I am you, okay? I did a couple of things, you know, before you guys, but we're the same. And I went through this. So that's why I want to go over all of these things with you. And I used to have a problem with people not liking me. Right? I couldn't handle, I wasn't that I couldn't handle it, but I didn't like when people didn't like it. If somebody was upset with me, it bothered me, right? Because I didn't want that. I wanted to be cool everywhere. Right? So, but that leads you to do wrong things, okay? Right? And so, when you mature, what helped me mature was always having God in my life from when I was young. I was always on the right side, right, you know? So I compared the two, and that helped me. So it might help you. Compare how God feels to how everybody else feels. Do that, and it'll help you go in the right direction. So, moving on. The fun stuff, right? Right? Because you guys read the whole Yoda quote, you know, you have that. You'll be able to go back and read that and everything. And we're going to move on to extrasensory perception, because this class is going to be fun. All right? ESP, or extrasensory perception, is most commonly called the sixth sense. It is sensory information that an individual receives which comes beyond the ordinary five senses: sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. It can provide the individual with information of the present, past, and future, as it seems to originate in a second or alternate reality. Now, from overcoming fear, right, this opens up your ability, right, to tap into your spirit, how your spirit works. You know how your body works. You know how your brain works, right? But there's much more to us. And if we're talking about the truth and reality and accomplishing this process, accomplishing these goals, right, of going through this process, right, you're going to need to use the most of your potential that you could reach. The highest level of your potential that you could possibly reach is what you're going to need to strive for. Now, the reason why we bring this up is because we all want to enter the private sector. Oh, let me ask everybody to mute your mics. Beautiful. All right, mute your mics. so that we can. Unless that's not my reverb, right? Is that my reverb? I'm gonna have to ask everybody to turn their mics off until the end. Whoever can hear me. And I might be on speaker somewhere. But the reason why I bring this up is because in the private sector, right, there are people that can do some very amazing things, right? Now, in the public, in the media, on TV, and in the news and on the internet, you hear about these people and they're considered as special, right? But I would like to tell you that
I'm on the conference call thing.
Excuse me.
For the
school. Could we mute our mics?
Shouldn't be much longer.
Could everybody mute their mics, please?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Sorry.
It's cool. Right? I want to tell everybody that these people that are doing these amazing things are not special. Okay? They're not. They're not special. The reason why I say that is because they have only tapped into the potential that you have. You have the potential to do the same things that these people do. All right? That's a part of us. And it will help you in the rest of it will help you in everything that you do. Now, I'm not saying that this class is gonna turn you into a superhero. You're gonna have powers after this class. But I'm telling you that you already have powers. You've already done things and didn't know that it was you that caused them to happen, right? So, right? The term ESP simply implies the ability to perceive sensations that are normally not perceptible to the physical senses. You need to keep in mind that our senses already block out over 90% of the sensory input that we receive during the day. Otherwise, we would not be able to process information efficiently. ESP is the ability to perceive this other dimension of sensory input, which includes information from the energetic metaphysical realm. Now, okay, how should I say this? Extrasensory perception. There are people that use their minds to accomplish amazing things. Okay, right? And the ability to do so is only a sense that is outside of the senses they taught us in school. The reason why this extrasensory perception is not developed is because we were never taught it. And because how can I say, the things that, I'll just say the things, right? The things that people are able to do using extrasensory perception, we have been taught from children, are not real, are fictional comic book movie stuff, right? So with that being implanted in us from young, that already puts a barrier within the mind that keeps us from being able to do these things, right? Now, the human potential is a 2-part course. So the next class, we will be getting into detail about extrasensory perception and the other subjects that we're going to go over tonight. Now, History. The term ESP was used in 1870 by Sir Richard Burton, a French researcher. Dr. Paul Jure in 1892 used the term to describe the ability of a person who had been hypnotized or were in a trance state to eternally sense things without using their ordinary senses. Now, if you close, now see, this is what we went over. This is what we went over in the previous class, right? If you close your eyes and, well, if you read what's on the screen without your mouth, you can hear yourself reading. Did you hear yourself reading it without your ears? How did you say it without your mouth? That's the real you. Extra connecting to your ability to use extrasensory perception is connected to your realization, the realization that the real you is not your body. These things are important. Now, I'm teaching you these things because we're dealing with principalities. We're dealing with authorities that exist on levels that people only consider as fiction, and it's not fiction. Mind you, we discussed how real God is. So, so being that that's that's a fact, logic and common sense just that means Michael is real. That means Gabriel is real. That means Lucifer is real. Okay, right? And if anyone in this school right now thinks that it is people that we are up against, I'm going to say to you tonight that you are sadly mistaken, and that if you want to pull this off, you're going to need to learn these things. Now, mind you, in learning these things, they're going to become a part of you. Yes, it takes practice, everything takes practice, but learning these things themselves, I'll teach you about the brain, right? The brain learns things that you don't know you're learning. That's why you have to be careful about music and television, because frequency is very tricky, okay? And you could be watching a television show, or you could be watching a movie and not knowing that there are other sounds that are going on during that movie that your brain is picking up that your ears can't hear. So it's very important learning about the human potential and what you really are and what you're really capable of, because you're going to need all of these things in this game. We're up against pure evil. Sending letters. Oh boy. Sending letters, it's not the way to win. There are very many people that have filed documents, sent paperwork, everything was correct, okay? But their spirit wasn't right. But there were things that they couldn't sense. But they didn't know they were up against pure evil. They had no idea that the courtroom that they were stomping into was the temple of Baal. They didn't know that they were dealing with devils and devil masters. They had no idea that the county recorder was the chancellor of hell. They didn't know this, right? So what I'm saying to you is that before, and maybe somebody said, wait a minute, if we're here to if we're here to to learn the process of becoming free from the system, why is he talking about ESP and all this weird stuff? Listen, man, if you if you skip any of the steps, if you disregard any of the lessons, you're going to have a puzzle with pieces missing. And that means you're not done. You can't hang that up. You can't say, hey, look, I'm finished with the puzzle. You can't go get another puzzle to work on. Right? Right? Okay. Right? When you see ESP as merely expanding your perception of sensory stimuli to extend into the other 90% that everyone else does not see, you will realize that there is nothing mystical or supernatural about ESP. It is a part of instinctual human functioning that has been suppressed over the years due to disuse and disinformation. It can easily be reawakened with the right training. Now, that training we're going to get into in part two of the human potential. So the next class is going to actually be the training. And yes, 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 training you to become good at it, master it, right? That's part of the advanced class. That's after graduation. If you guys so choose to to join in everyone in the advanced classes, which don't cost anything extra, mind you, right? But in part two of the human potential, I'm going to teach you guys how to start practicing these things. There are ways to practice and get good at it on your own, right? So we're going to get into that. Um, ESP has long been the research subject of parapsychology, and now few would doubt its existence. Since ESP is a necessary part of being an effective energy healer, right? Now, what that is to say is that many of the things that we're interested in have a lot to do with extrasensory perception. And so when it comes to healing, right, when it comes to, how can I say this? When it comes to, I don't want to say manipulating reality because that's not what you're doing. But when it comes to the power of magnetism, right, and using the mind to attract things to yourself, right? And it is kind of altering reality. We have the ability to do that also with the mind. Is what you think and believe, that becomes your reality. Just want to throw that out there too, because that's a part of extrasensory perception. And people do this and don't know that they're doing it. So okay, so cool. Let's talk about that for a second, right? For a quick second, let's talk about that. What you believe becomes your reality. What you constantly read, listen to, watch, say, right? All of these things have a frequency, okay? Right? The source of all of these things is the mind, right? But all of these things have a frequency. And people don't know they're creating the realities that they're dealing with. Now, why are we facing all of these evils? Why are we facing all of this wickedness, right? I'll help you with that. Because they have promoted for centuries a belief system, right? A negative belief system. And so by putting these things on TV, the radio, right, in movies, books, the internet, they're manipulating what people think about. They're manipulating what people talk about. They're manipulating what people do. That is creating all of the minds together, right? that are focused on these things are helping to make that reality real. See, and people don't even realize that they are powering this reality. Things are the way they are because we are powering them. Okay, right? So, now we're going to get into science and religion. Okay? And I have a quote for you guys. I'll post it. I'll post it on Facebook and tomorrow, right? But that quote is this: if science and religion would just sit down and talk, they would realize that when God created, there was a big bang. I'm going to say that again. Right? I'm going to say it again because, maybe the class is split. Maybe if we were all sitting in a classroom, I would be able to say, everybody who's behind science, sit on this side. Everybody who supports religion and that God created everything, you sit on the other side, right? Perhaps I'd be able to do that, right, with the class. So I just want to say that again so that we can all be on the same page here. Right? If science and religion would just sit down and talk, they would realize that when God created, there was a big bang. They're not two separate things. Not two separate things. They are one and the same. Let's talk about science real quick because we're going to get into science and religion. I want to talk about science. Please realize that science is a new word. It is. It's a new word. It's a new word. And before the word science even existed, right? What was happening was that man was experimenting with things. Like, man was just messing with stuff to see what happens, right? And some of the things that they would do, cause and effect. Things would happen and they would record these things. Some of these things were unexplainable, right? And some of them were, right? But there was no such thing as science. It was just people messing with stuff. It was philosophy. It was alchemy. And that was just a period of mankind experimenting with his environment, right? And so some of these amazing things that were accomplished from just playing around with Earth, right? With the things around in the environment. Uh, it gave birth to what we now consider, what modern science considers as magic, right? Now, I'll say that when industry and politics got involved, science and magic became rivals because magic wasn't marketable. Not marketable, but they weren't able to make money, real money, off of nature, off of things that man could do himself, right? So so we'll get into magic, science, and natural magic because there's a difference, right? The magic that most people think about is like Harry Potter magic, the guys that do the tricks and stuff on TV, the magic acts and the magicians. People think about magic. When people think about magic, that's what usually comes to mind, right? And so I want to make sure that everybody understands the difference between science, religion, and magic. And wait, no, science, magic, and natural magic. I'm sorry. Right? Pardon me. Science, magic, and natural magic. Okay? Science is what man understands about the causes and effects, right, of the natural environment. Natural magic was man's observations of the causes and effects of, you know, the things that would happen in his environment and from experimenting with things, right? That was natural magic. That was messing with nature, man messing with nature, right? So that's what natural magic is. The magic that comes to mind, right? That's entirely different. And so I'd like to clarify the differences between these things so that, you know, when we speak about the human potential and what man is able to do, right? And what the private sector, see, when we talk about the private is everything that you don't see in the public, right? So I'm trying to teach you I'm trying to teach you the whole truth. I want to teach you what reality is as a whole, not just what they show you, okay? Because I could take you to some places where, listen, you need to know the whole truth, okay? So, let's move on. God in science. In science, God is the first cause. In religion, the universal and loving Father. In philosophy, the one being who exists by himself, not dependent on any other being for existence, but beneficiently conferring reality of existence on all things and upon all other beings. But it requires revelation to show that the first cause of science and the self-existent unity of philosophy are the God of religion, full of mercy and goodness, and pledged to the effect of the eternal survival of his children on earth. Now, complex, but you'll be able to pick this apart, and I want you to, okay? It's advanced, right? But pick this apart, okay? Because we explained that light is made of matter. So, a being that was made of pure light would be physical because matter is physical, right? That in itself is science. But if a being of light appeared in front of you, you would not be able to to understand what's happening scientifically, right? So it would be more so considered as magic that there was a being of pure light in front of you, right? But those are, but light is made of matter. So there's science involved, you see, right? So, and let's talk about ancient law. We'll talk about ancient Egypt in a minute. We'll talk about we'll talk about ancient science and advanced technology, because you know that's one of my favorite topics. So I'm not going to start ranting and raving about that. We'll continue as planned, okay? Science is a quantitative experience. Religion, a qualitative experience as regards man's life on earth and our experience on earth. Science deals with phenomena, religion with origins, values, and goals. To assign causes as an explanation of physical phenomena is to confess ignorance of ultimates and in the end only leads to the scientist straight back to the first great cause, the universal father of paradise. Now, these are excerpts from the Urantia book, which all you guys should have a copy of, a PDF of, I believe. And so this comes from the Urantia book, and it's explaining that science and religion and magic, natural magic, the origin of all three things is the first intelligent being to ever exist. The human potential comes from the first intelligent being that ever existed. We are able to do way more than we think. Okay? And that's why we're going over these things. Because you're going to need to be able to do way more than what you think. If you want to make it, if you want to pull this off. Right? I'll tell you a secret. I don't know if it's really a secret. Some of you may know this, but I know that there are very many people that keep it secret. A lot of these millionaires and billionaires, right? They use numbers. They use numerology to help them get where they're going in life, to figure out what business name they're going to use, to figure out what companies to deal with, to figure out what type of personalities their employees have and their business partners. They use numerology for a lot of this stuff. For a lot of corporate America, right? I'm just going to throw this out there. They use a lot of things that people would not even think about imagining to be connected to corporate America, to a business, to going up in a, in a skyscraper and punching in on a clock and sitting down in a cubicle would not consider these things. But I'm telling you that there is a whole other reality that's right in front of you. And I'm trying to awaken you. I'm trying to open your eyes to this. I'm trying to make sure that when you go outside, right, when you step outside your door, that you see everything, not just what they want you to see. I want you to do things. I want you to be able to do things that they wish you weren't able to do, right? This is the only way we're going to accomplish real change. This is and what we're discussing is tapping in to the God within us. All right? So, this is a class, we're going over all of these words, but it really is just us tapping into the God within ourselves. We really need to be able to do that to overcome evil. It's very important. There's no way that I can try to teach you to face these entities and to deal with what's going on without covering this topic. I just can't. Now, science. Science is one of the pillars of civilization. Civilizations are unstable because they are not cosmic. Now, mind you, we talked about our cosmic citizenship right? And realizing that we are part of something larger than just mankind on earth, okay? We're part of a universe of beings, okay? And so civilizations are unstable because they are not cosmic. These civilizations don't realize that there are other beings, that that reality consists of other beings on other worlds, right? So not realizing this, not realizing your cosmic citizenship and not sharing that with others makes society unstable. They are not innate in the individuals of the races. They must be nurtured by the combined contributions of the constitutive factors of man, science, morality, and religion. You see how science, morality, science, morals, and religion. Now, mind you, let me help you guys with this. When I teach these classes and I use the word religion, I am regarding beliefs. I'm referring to beliefs. Okay? I'm not referring to a particular religion or becoming religious or the religions. Okay? When I teach and use the word religion, I am referring to beliefs, right? Civilizations come and go, but science, morality, and religion always survive the crash. It's very important. Just throwing that out there. That's just something I want to throw out there. But it's important to know that civilizations are unstable because they are not cosmic. Science teaches man to speak the new language of mathematics and trains his thoughts along the lines of exacting precision. And science also stabilizes philosophy through the elimination of error, while it purifies religion by the destruction of superstition. So, what this is to say is that philosophy, in its origins, right, was man trying to explain the causes and effects of nature. Science helps man mathematically break down those those observations, and that's what is considered as science. So what has happened is magic, natural magic, is only science that scientists do not understand yet, right? Okay. And science also stabilizes philosophy through the elimination of error, while it purifies religion by the destruction of superstition. So, now we talk about the difference between natural magic and the magic that comes to mind, which is connected to superstition. We have to separate these things because, and the reason why I say this is because the magic that comes to mind, right, the magic that is promoted in the public, which is also the realm of the dead, the kingdom of hell, the magic that is promoted there is forbidden. It is. It's forbidden. I'm sorry. Sorry. It is. Right? Okay. And natural magic is cool because it's just what happens when you take a piece of silver and you connect it to a battery and you put it in some water. You take two pieces of silver, connect them to a battery and put it in water and wait for an hour, and you got colloidal silver. That's what is considered as alchemy, right? Um, but it's science. I've healed people. Now, no, I haven't healed anybody. I'm sorry. It wasn't me. They healed themselves, right? I made the near water, which is mineral water, and one of the minerals in near water, one of the main minerals in near water is silver, right? So, there have been people, let me just name the illnesses, right? So, small cell lung cancer, epilepsy, um, what was it? What was it? What was that cancer? It was intestinal. But anyway, there are a few cancers, that I sat in people's houses. I came to their house with a jar, a gallon of distilled water, 2 pieces of silver wire, and 4 9-volt batteries, and some wires. And I set up I set up to make this mineral water right in front of them. And so what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm gonna make near water right now in your face, right, and teach you how to do it yourself so that you don't have to keep buying near water from me, right? And because some people, they don't want to go through all that, and it's scary, and you have to. It's a learning process, and you have to experiment and try it. But some people want to try it, so I teach them, right? But when I do it in their faces and then leave, and they use it, and it works, there are places, there are people that would consider that as magic, but it's science, right? There are other things like, okay, the rods, the orgonite rods, people know about them, right? You guys heard of them, you've seen them before, most of you. And what it is that back when the ancient Egyptians were using the rods, there was no, science wasn't even a word, okay? So what they were accomplishing by using these rods was considered as magic. But today, I could scientifically explain to you how all of that worked and what they were doing. You see? So in regards to natural magic is cool, right? That's magic in the private, right? Seriously, I really have to teach you guys this because you want to leave the public and enter the private, right? Okay, in the private, the private is magical. Listen, there are some amazing things on this side over here, man. I mean, seriously, that you really, really wouldn't be able to explain scientifically, right? So I just want to make sure that we clear all of this up, because my point in teaching you guys is to clear stuff up, right? And so we're going to talk about the human potential and you being able to do some very amazing things, right? So I have to teach you that in the public, right? Magic is what comes to mind. Magic is the spells and the symbols and the right and the summonings and that's how magic is portrayed and promoted in the public. Okay? In the private, it's natural magic. It's nature. It's alchemy. It's messing with stuff and seeing what happens. Okay? Right? Now, some of what has been accomplished in regards to natural magic can be explained by science. Some of it cannot. But there's a difference between natural magic, and science. Right? Just clarifying that for you guys. Science guided by wisdom may become man's great social liberator. A mechanical age can prove disastrous only to a nation whose intellectual level is too low to discover those wise methods and sound techniques for successfully adjusting to the transition difficulties arising from the sudden loss of employment by large numbers consequent upon the too rapid invention of new types of labor-saving machinery, which is to say, man has become lazy, right? Okay? Because that is science without wisdom. Machines, technology, right? That's science without wisdom. That's making man lazy. That's leading us away from, that is leading us away from the source of all science. So, this passage is explaining that it's an error, right? To study science that is not guided by wisdom. That is a mistake. Because what we're going to get into, we want to talk about rods, we have to talk about science. We have to clarify science, magic, natural science. Because we're dealing with forces that you're going to need to learn these things. And I'm not trying to, and I want to say this, right? I'm teaching you these things to give you a 100% view of what reality is. I'm not teaching you magic, okay? I'm not teaching you natural magic, right? I'm not a scientist, right? I know a lot of stuff, right? But I'm here to give you a whole view of what reality is. Now, here's where we put the puzzle pieces together. The objects of science are identical with those of magic. Mankind is progressing from magic to science, not by meditation and reason, but rather through long experience, gradually and painfully. Man is gradually backing into the truth, beginning in error, progressing in error, and finally attaining the threshold of truth. Only with the arrival of the scientific method has he faced forward. But primitive man had to experiment or perish. See? So, natural magic was necessary for man to progress and evolve and reach the point where the causes and effects of nature and the things in the environment were able to be analyzed mathematically. Which is to say, we would not have made it. Mankind would not have survived, okay, without messing with stuff. I'm calling it messing with stuff. I learned quite a few things from messing with stuff myself. Some of the things worked, some of them didn't. But I learned it on my own because I just wanted to see what would happen. Right? Right? And there's nothing new under the sun, so I didn't discover anything, but I learned a lot by just playing around with stuff. And that's what natural magic is. So I just wanted to clear that up. Ancient magic was the cocoon of modern science, indispensable in its time, but now no longer useful. And so the phantasms of ignorant superstition agitated the primitive minds of men until the concepts of science could be born. Today, Earth is in the twilight zone of this intellectual evolution. One half of the world is grasping eagerly for the light of truth and the facts of scientific discovery, while the other half languishes in the arms of ancient superstition and but thinly disguised magic. Now, I had to pause for a minute because I have to also say that the things that I'm teaching you about, that's my passion. That's what drives me. All of these things that I'm teaching you are a part of me. So I feel, right? I don't want to get into it like that, but I'm just saying these things are very important to me because I learned how real they are. And I also learned that God is the source of all of these amazing things. And so that affects your emotion. When all of these puzzle pieces start coming together for you, it becomes a part of you, right? So, pardon me when I pause sometimes. Natural magic is, as we have said, a comprehensive knowledge of all nature, by which we search out her secret and occult operations and occult by occult, right? Let me clear that up for you guys before, because, you know, words are tricky, right? But please look up the definition of the word occult. This means hidden knowledge, stuff that other people don't know. That's what occult means. Look it up. Now, cult and occult are two different things, right? So, you know, I'm not saying anybody in here is ghetto or anything, you'd be like cult or a cult. Ain't that like the devil worshippers, right? No, listen, listen, right? I'm not saying that anybody in here thinks like that, but I'm gonna clear it up anyway. Okay? Cult and occult are two different things. Look up the meaning of occult, please. Right? It just means, in plain English, stuff that most people don't know. And hidden knowledge is what occult means. So, natural magic is, as we have said, a comprehensive knowledge of all nature, by which we search out her secret and occult operations and hidden operations throughout her vast and spacious laboratory, which is, the planet, whereby we come to a knowledge of the component parts, qualities, virtues, and secrets of metals, stones, plants, and animals. But seeing in the regular order of the creation, man was the work of the sixth day, everything being prepared for his vigilancy here on earth, and that it pleased the omnipotent God, after he had formed the great world or macrocosm and pronounced it good. So he created man the express image of himself, and in man likewise an exact model of the great world. Everything, and you may have heard this before, and if you haven't, this is a cool factoid, right? Everything that exists in the universe, you have within yourself. Tell you one thing I looked up one day. Well, something I studied. I looked it up one day and then I started studying it, right? Look up the chemical. I want you to research this. This is very interesting. And it's going to be connected to future classes. I'll probably throw this information on our first exam, which I'm gonna design it to kick your asses. But you should pass it because all you have to do is go over the classes, and this stuff is pretty cool stuff. It's not. I don't think it's boring, right? So you guys should do good. Um. Well, I wanted to. Well, I'll give them a minute, right? Give you guys a minute. Yes. Pardon me. Give me a minute. Oh, okay, okay. 1 second, you guys gotta give me a minute. I'm gonna hold on. Okay. Next. Next, we shall describe the wonderful properties of man, in which we may trace in miniature the exact resemblance or copy of the universe, which is what, right, I just said. By which means we shall come to the more easy understanding of whatever we may have to declare concerning the knowledge of the inferior nature, such as animals, plants, metals, and stones. For by our first declaring the occult qualities, the hidden qualities, and properties that are in the world, that are hidden in the world, it will serve as a key to the opening of all the treasures and secrets of the macrocosm or the great world. Therefore, we shall hasten to speak of the creation of man and his divine image, likewise of his fall in consequence of disobedience, by which all the train of evils, plagues, diseases, and miseries were entailed upon his posterity through the curse of our Creator, but depreciated by the mediation of our blessed Lord Christ. Okay? See, I I strategically put these things in order so that so that they would it's kind of like me putting the puzzle pieces together for you, right? So at this point, everything we discussed should come together for you. And based on what the last class was about and what we learned so far, I believe that everyone in class should realize why we had to discuss and why we're going to discuss further the human potential. Okay? Because we're dealing with pure evil and they are using powers, okay, right? Principalities and powers, right? They're using powers and sciences and natural magic and dark magic against us, and all you're going to use to counter them is paper. You're going to step up into a temple of Baal, right? With your cell phone and a manila envelope, huh? And a pen? Is that how? Is you think that you're going to listen? There are very many more reasons why people fail at this process than they think. Okay, and so I'm trying to teach you some of the other things that you're going to need to be able to make it. Okay, so the last thing I wanted you to write down and study is the chemical composition of the human body. Look that up. You're going to need it. I'm going to put that on the exam. The chemical composition of the human body. You will be amazed at some of the things that are within your body. What makes up the human body. So, I want you to look that up. The chemical composition of the human body. It's a very interesting subject. And next, natural magic, as we have said, right, is a comprehensive knowledge of all nature. This is a repeat of the last slide because I would like to further go into that, get back into natural magic. Let's just clear that up. The orgonite rods and the science behind using copper and zinc and the benefits, the health benefits of copper and zinc, and how they now the what makes what how can I say it? I don't want to say what makes what what gives the rods the qualities of natural magic is that the ancient Egyptians were able to do things that would now be considered as magic, right? But those things can be explained today scientifically. So the rods are a perfect example of natural magic. And that's not a plug, it's just an example to help you understand the subject. And that is the conclusion of tonight's class. I'll be sending out materials. Well, Lola will be sending out materials. I have to stop saying that. She does that, right? So she'll be sending out materials shortly. And this was another cool class. And I love you guys. And I'll see you next time. Oh, wait a minute. Turn your mics on. Does anybody have any questions? Who wants to ask me a question?
I would love to ask a question.
Let's do it. Let's do it. What you got?
Okay, for the staff and rods.
Yes.
I'm super intrigued with that, and I just want to know exactly the best way you think I should do it, because I definitely resonate with that.
Now, the best way to use them, or
right.
Okay.
Should you construct it yourself, or is it better to?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? It's actually a culture. It's an ancient culture, right?
Right.
If you look up, and it's gonna sound weird, and this is a perfect example of how words are tricky. But
right.
if you look up the word Jedi, but with a D in front of it,
right,
you're gonna find that it was an ancient Egyptian civilization.
right,
And the rods are what they used for very many things. I don't want to start saying what the list is, but they used very many things, right? And the way that the way tradition goes is that they would distribute it to students, right? And as the students would advance, right, they would learn how to make their own. And so it's at the point of mastery, then that's when because it's alchemy.
Alchemy. The way
right,
I see it,
exactly. That's
alchemy.
what I just said. We both said alchemy at the same time, right? So yeah, so alchemy is
that
something
was basically what I wanted to get to, because I've always been intrigued with alchemy. I've researched it myself, so I can relate to everything you said. That was a brilliant class. Loving it.
And see, the thing about it is that it's interesting because I don't want to get all boyish and sci-fi on you guys, but I'll tell you another truth before we leave the class. I did tell you guys it was going to be extended, right? So, um, what they do in movies is they try to show us the truth in movies to make us believe that they're not real. Right?
I've been saying that.
Right?
Yeah,
And they
we're on the
reverse.
same page. I've been seeing that for a long time, and it's almost funny now because it's like they're doing at a level of just like mocking you, like.
Well, it's psychologically, it's actually reverse psychology.
For
Right?
psychology, right?
Now let me explain
it's a movie,
how.
so it's fake, it's fiction, right?
Exactly. So let me explain how they did that.
But that's
right?
what's really real, like especially Wizard of Oz.
I'm gonna shock a lot of people's minds into reality right now. Right? Let me tell you what's going on. Right? What they teach us is fiction, what they promote to be fiction, right, is everything that was everything that was going on in the world before Hollywood existed.
Right.
Now, what happened was the Industrial Revolution. People have a misconception of what the Industrial Revolution was. The Industrial Revolution was them building building a countrywide, a national Hollywood set, right? Because before modern science and technology and politics and government and all that started, what they told us was science fiction. That's what was going on, man. The vampires, the werewolves, that's real. That's all real. What happened was they built these cities and neighborhoods, right, and covered up.
It's all about labels.
So what they did was they built Hollywood, and we think that our neighborhoods we think that all of that, what we see around us, is what reality is. But they built that, right? So that we can't see, so that we wouldn't be able to see what is real.
See, like the things you're saying, it's like I'm almost mind blown because it's like a remembrance, because I've ran across so much. Man, I've researched like crazy. Like it became almost like a problem. But
right.
It's like a death and a awakening. But now I can actually put it on paper because this is an alignment of what I'm already on with the spiritual side. Because it's like I was on a spiritual path. And that's whenever I got turned on to what you were saying, because I resonated with the God's love, because I've read the Bible many, many times, and I've been researching all the different Bibles and the what it really means, and everything is so not what it seems.
I'm glad that you said that. I'm glad that you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up because we discussed fear, right? We discussed fear tonight.
Right.
And we're discussing reality as a whole. And so the last thing I want to say before closing is that one of the fears that I want everybody in our school to overcome is the fact that the Bible is literal. Okay? Get over the fear.
And a lot of it is metaphor. Yeah.
Get over the fear of what's scary. Okay, see, so because here's what happens, right?
Exactly.
Right? Because here's what happens, and the mind does this. So I'm not blaming you guys for doing this. You've been psychologically programmed to do this, but I want you to train yourself to break free of that programming. Okay, and I'm going to teach you about that right
it's
now.
It's been happening, but it's putting all the pieces together that is so much.
Let me teach you what's going on, right? Let me teach you what's going on with that. What happens in the mind is that we look in the Bible and we'll see Peter, we'll see John, we'll see Elijah, right? We'll see Thomas, we'll see Luke, right? We'll see these guys in the Bible, and then cool, okay, these are guys and they did this, and okay, you know, it's a stretch, but I consider this as a part of history, right? But then when it talks about demons and Beelzebub and Abaddon, and it talks about Satan, it talks about the Prince of Darkness, it brings up, when these things come up, your mind automatically says, oh, well, that's just symbolic of something else. No, and no. Listen, if Peter was real, and he was, let me help you guys with the whole Jesus thing. Let's get that out of the way real quick too, because I had to defend the reality of my father, right? So let me defend the reality of my big brother, okay? Right? Okay? Right? Listen. If Jesus was not here, if Jesus never existed, and mind you, that was his nickname. His name was Joshua of Joseph, which is Yahshua ben Joseph, right? Jesus was his nickname, like people call me Machete, right? Jesus was his nickname, okay? So just get that out of the way, right? So no, there was no Jesus ever here. Jesus never existed, okay? There was never a man that was named Jesus. There was a man that was nicknamed Jesus. So let's cut the crap with that, okay? Right? Okay. Now, let's cut some more crap.
Translation.
Okay? No, wait, let me finish, okay? Right? Let me finish. If Jesus never existed, and I'm not saying that anybody in this school at all doesn't believe that Jesus existed. That's not what I'm saying. But I want to clear up reality as a whole for you guys. Let me cover that real quick, right? Okay. If Jesus never existed, then that would mean that you would have to take Caesar out of history, okay? Because if Jesus never existed, who did Caesar have beef with?
Yeah.
Hold up, wait. I have more. Wait.
No, I gotta hear this.
Wait, if Jesus never existed, then who was Peter hanging with? Because Peter's body is in Vatican City. Proof that Jesus existed is that Peter's body is in the Vatican City right now.
Yeah.
Why is his body in the Vatican City? Why is it there? Because he was he was crucified upside down. Why was he crucified upside down? Because Jesus was crucified right side up. Listen, people, don't play with me when it comes to what the truth is. All right? All right?
No.
And this is the last thing I want to say in defense of my big brother. Wait. And this is the last thing I want to say in defense of my big brother, okay? All right? For all the people that you encounter that try to swear to you that Jesus never existed, right? Ask them, tell them that, okay, I agree with you. Jesus never existed. None of that ever happened, right? So here's what I want you to do. Fill in that part of history for me. Tell me what really happened. Look, if you want to take that out of history, please fill it in with what really happened. And they can't. Now, the last thing I want to say is that against means anti. Anti means against. Okay? Right? So, to clarify for you who these individuals are, right, before you argue with them, before you feel you have a chance at winning an argument with them, let me identify them for you now. Anyone that is against the concept of Christ, right, anyone that is against Christ is anti. If anti is against is anti. So these individuals that are against Christ are technically and literally anti-Christ. So that should clear that up for you guys. Right?
Yeah.
Right? I just wanted to clear that up for you guys and defend my big brother. real quick,
Definitely.
with
Dude,
facts, with logic
that's
and
me.
common sense. I didn't have to dig anything up. I didn't need any books. This is logic and common sense. If you have
Dude,
to
I ain't trying to do nothing but soak
so
everything you have to say because,
but this will help you guys when people try to approach you with that whole,
bruh,
oh, Machete is teaching the whole, he's teaching false, he's a false teacher because was never, yeah, really, don't play. See, I'm from New York, right? And so I know how to sift through bullshit,
and
right?
I know
to
how to
see
trust.
when
I
somebody's
trust my intuition, man, and
right.
it's been doing. I'm already on the same journey, and for us to connect, I know the timing is perfect. Like this is pretty big. The group, the whole vibe of the whole group, dude, is like super helpful. I think we're gonna all grow from this. Like, I really do have a good feeling about this.
Well, I don't want to sound corny before I leave, but I saw a JPEG, and I think I put it up in one of the previous classes, but it was the word team, and it
Mm-hmm.
had together everybody achieves more is what the letters in team stand for, and I was like, I like that, right? Together everyone achieves more is what team stands for, and so.
Exactly.
And so that's kind of like how I see this class. And I'm gonna
I,
tell you, at
I'm
graduation,
open. I'm open to learning because I know I'm all over the place, and I like the direction that you give us.
well,
That
here being all over the place is okay, right? I'm gonna tell you
I'm
why.
all,
No, I'm gonna
I'm
tell you why. In this school, being all over the place is okay because what's happening is that there's nothing wrong with a Buddhist joining our school. There's nothing wrong with a Muslim enrolling in our school. There's nothing wrong with a Moor or a Christian, right,
I
enrolling in
love
our
them
school.
all.
Because what's going to happen is everything that everybody believes is just going to end up making more sense. And what that does
Exactly.
is that brings us together because you'll look at your brother next to you and you'll say, wait a minute, I know why I get it. He had a puzzle piece and Jesus had a puzzle piece and Zoroaster had a puzzle piece. Plato had a puzzle piece. Thoth had a puzzle piece. These are all puzzle pieces. So that and that's what I want to teach you too. Everybody's right.
We've all been speaking for
Everybody's right.
wow. Everybody in this group is so super intelligent, and we all have our own perspective or reflection.
But
And
nobody's wrong. That's the whole thing. Nobody's wrong.
exactly.
This school is so that we can learn how it is that everybody's right.
It's super inspirational, bro. I just wanted to say thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, thank you very much.
I'm gonna have to go. My puppy's staring at me. He's gonna start whining and stuff. You guys
I
are gonna
need,
hear
but that
puppy
was an
whining.
awesome class, dude. Thanks. I got a lot of studying to do.
Well, thank you. I'm always nervous when I'm doing these classes because I don't know whether it's gonna make sense to y'all or not, or
The
whether
way
I'm
you
gonna be.
handle it, dude, I just have to say, it's pretty amazing. You're super helpful, and it shows. I mean, everybody's pretty in tune to, positive vibes, and you definitely running a good thing. I'm all about it. I'm totally in support.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
I don't trust hardly anybody.
Yeah, trust. That's what we're gonna
That
be.
says a lot.
Yeah, trust is
It's
trust.
just a connect, and I knew this was going to happen, but it's the connections. But this ain't nothing new. But this is where I knew I was going to end up with a team that will make it happen, dude. Like this is pretty big. Like I'm taking it super seriously.
I'm glad. I hope everybody does. I'm taking it seriously too because at the end of when graduation comes, I'm looking at it as like a class action, not a class action suit, right? It's gonna be without the suit, because what's gonna happen is there's gonna be a group of people with private trust, and that are free and that are able to reach the heights of their human potential and that are able to support one another and that want to go out and make positive changes. That is going to be a blow. That is going to be a blow to evil that they were not expecting, because we're not making commercials. I'm not putting posters and billboards out
being
there.
exactly who we really are. We are Christ in reincarnation. We are the second coming.
That's what they're afraid of. But we have to come. We have to come.
You have to come.
It is us. We're the ones we're the ones we've been waiting for.
Exactly. And we're late. we got to show up.
Dude, it's a lot to process.
The universe, but here's the thing: we talked about.
But everything the timing is divine timing, dude. Just enjoy the ride. It ain't nothing to worry about, bro.
Watch. There's an entire universe that's rooting on us, man. Like there's bets, there's gambling, there's cosmic gambling going on.
This is happening. This is happening on a scale. We're not the only group making this happen.
Not at all. Not at all. It's a mankind effort.
Yes.
We gotta make man look good. We gotta make God look good, make him feel good about creating us.
Exactly. And I actually feel like that's what we're doing.
So, I'm gonna have to go.
Because I think we all want to help, dude. Like this is the answer. Like we all complain and complain and complain. We all conspiracy theorists crazy.
Yes, I'm gonna have to cut it. I really do have to go now, man.
I would thank you, Bishop.
Thank you too.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Good night.